Before you continue reading this statement, I have to ask you to realize just one thing. I'm not crazy. I'm not paranoid. And I'm most certainly not telling you this for the purpose of seeking attention. The events that I'm about to relate to you are the truth concerning Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. And when you learn what I know about the flight, you'll realize why I have been silent for the past decade. I could care less about the name I carry at this point. Very nary way. What's important is that on March 8, 2014, I sat in a secret military radar station somewhere in Southeast Asia, tracking the airspace above the Indian Ocean. I am a radar technician, anonymity itself, sitting amongst dozens of monitors and lights flashing everywhere I look. I've done this work for 6 years. It's ordinary stuff, unremarkable. Even international commercial flights traveling through designated airspace paths, military operations happening in designated zones, or occasionally an interfering civilian plane. Nothing ever happened until that night. My shift was at 1:20 a.m. This is what you'd see in the radar room if you had a military facility that is not technically real. Walls made of reinforced concrete, no windows, 12 radar consoles lined up in 2 rows, the air conditioner humming constantly to fight the heat of the equipment, and the stale aroma of coffee left too long in the pot. Then there was that green glow from the screens that gave everyone the appearance of being corpses. Sergeant Marcus was at the console next to mine. Good guy. Former Air Force pilot who'd washed out during training and ended up behind a desk. He never complained, but you could tell it bothered him. He'd track every aircraft with an intensity that suggested he was imagining himself up there instead of just watching. Major Rahman was the commanding officer on duty. Strict military type, everything by the book. He had that rigid posture that comes from decades of following orders without question. I respected him, even if I didn't particularly like him. The first hour was normal. I tracked 17 commercial flights, 3 cargo planes, and 2 military transports. My coffee was getting cold. I was thinking about a basketball game I'd missed. Then at 1:21 a.m., everything changed. "Hey, I've got a transponder dropout on Malaysia Airlines 350, Marcus called out. His voice was casual. Transponder failures happen. Usually they come back online. I pulled up the flight on my screen. Boeing 7077, Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, 239 people on board. But here is the part that has been eating me alive for 10 years. Our military radar. The classified systems that track everything regardless of whether it's broadcasting identification, never lost that plane. To the civilian world, it had vanished. To us, in a facility that shouldn't exist, it was perfectly visible. "Should I notify civilian ATSI?" Marcus asked. "Not yet," Rahman said quietly. "Let's see if it comes back." We waited 10 minutes. The transponder stayed dark, but the plane kept flying. Then my stomach dropped. The aircraft wasn't heading to Beijing anymore. It was turning a slow, deliberate turn to the west, back toward the Malay Peninsula. This wasn't erratic, it was controlled and intentional. "Major," I said, pulse racing. "The aircraft is deviating. It's turning west." Rahman leaned over my console. In the green glow, I saw something in his face I'd never seen before, recognition. He knew. "Continue tracking," he said simply, "and activate the secure communication protocols." That was the code. It meant shut up. It meant if I talked, I'd be charged with treason. For the next hour, I watched that plane execute maneuvers impossible for an emergency. It turned south, following waypoints outside any commercial corridor. It climbed and descended to avoid civilian detection. But we saw it all. "Major," Marcus said, his voice tighter, "I'm picking up additional contacts." 2 additional aircraft appeared, approaching from the northwest. No transponders. Radar signatures suggested military jets, fast and precise. They were closing in on MH370. "Can you identify?" Rahman asked. "Negative, sir," Marcus replied. "Configuration suggests fighter jets, but no nationality." We all knew. Unidentified military aircraft intercepting a dark airliner. This was an operation. The 2 jets took positions on either side of the Malaysian flight. They weren't attacking. They were escorting it. 3 aircraft flying in formation at 1:40 a.m. over the Indian Ocean, and according to civilian radar, none of them existed. Captain David Miller walked in then, intelligence officer. He reported to people so high up we didn't know their names. He handed Rahman a black folder with multiple classification stamps. Rahman read the single page, and his face went blank. Gentlemen, Rahman said, this aircraft is now under special operations oversight. You will not discuss this. You will not include it in logs. Transfer all tracking to Captain Miller immediately. Sir, I blurted out, there are 209 people on that plane. Shouldn't we coordinate rescue? Miller looked at me with eyes that suggested he'd seen things that would give me nightmares. The situation is being handled. Your responsibility is operational security. Is that clear? We weren't there to rescue anyone. We were there to watch. For the next 3 hours, I tracked that plane as it flew south. The escort stayed in perfect formation. At 3:15 a.m., Miller received a coded message. He acknowledged it and turned to us. Stop active tracking. Transfer all data to secure storage, then purge it from your consoles. This observation never happened. Nobody asked questions. What were we supposed to ask? Where did the plane go? Why were 390 people used as cover? Marcus tried. Captain, what about the families? You will follow orders, Sergeant. Miller's voice was like ice. The families will be told what they need to know. Your opinion is not relevant. As the purge protocols erased the night's work, I made a choice. I saved a backup. A tiny flash drive in my pocket with the tracks, the timestamps, the escort signatures. Treason? Yes, but I couldn't let it disappear. The official story broke the next morning. MH370 had vanished over the South China Sea. I watched the news in my apartment, watching the world being fed a lie. The plane hadn't vanished. It had been escorted for hours. 3 days later, I was called to a private meeting with Miller and 2 men in civilian clothes. They didn't threaten me directly. They just laid out a folder of photos, my apartment, my car, my girlfriend Sarah at the hospital, my sister at college. These are the people whose safety depends on your discretion, one said calmly. I signed the DAS. I lived in paranoia for months. Every phone call felt like a death knell. But the real torture was the media. Families crying at press conferences, experts looking for debris in areas where I knew the plane never went. I had to stay silent while they suffered. The breaking point was 8 months later. We hadn't talked about that night, but I saw the guilt in his eyes. I can't live with this lie, Marcus whispered. Those people deserve the truth. 2 weeks later, Marcus died in a single vehicle accident. A straight road, perfect visibility. He was a trained pilot. The timing 4 days after his plan was no coincidence. At his funeral, Captain Miller stood in the back, giving me a slight nod. A warning. I kept my head down for years. My life fell apart. My relationship with Sarah ended because I was a hollow shell. Then, 3 years in, I saw a headline. An independent journalist, Jennifer Rodriguez, found dead of an apparent suicide. She had been investigating MI330. This was the woman Marcus had contacted. I started digging into military databases using my remaining access. I found the term deep sleep protocol. I found a cargo manifest. Amidst the electronics and clothes was one entry, diplomatic courier package, special handling required. Consignee, classified. Whatever was in that package was worth more than 239 lives. It was an intelligence operation that went wrong. The pilots resisted the diversion, and the deep sleep was triggered. Every piece of wreckage found since was a managed release to keep the public looking in the wrong direction. I'm telling you this because I'm out of time. 2 weeks ago, I got a letter. We know about the files. You have 72 hours. I didn't comply. I've uploaded my backups to multiple locations. If you are reading this, I am gone. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mystery. It was a choice. 2039 people were sacrificed for a strategic asset transfer. This protocol has been used before, and as long as we stay silent, it will be used again. Don't trust the official story. The coordinates and the keys are in the encrypted files. I'm sorry it took me 10 years to find my courage. To Sarah, to the families, I am so sorry. They are probably outside my door now, but the information is out there. You can kill me, but you can't kill the truth. Not anymore. Good luck.